Miami to feel your spleen, but that's the key to mononucleosis is what's happening with your spleen.
I can be your doctor on the scene here. If you want to just explain to me how to find his spleen, I'll start rubbing it.
And first off, Doc, realize that you're dealing with spleen, left side or right side?
All right, what am I doing here?
So your belly button, right? You know where that is?
Yeah.
All right, go from Miami up to Fort Lauderdale from your belly button.
Okay.
This is weird.
And make a right turn. That's your liver.
I don't feel anything.
You went up to that bottom of the rib cage and you made a left, that's your spleen.
Okay.
If the spleen is sore
Left.
or enlarged, you got mono.
Yeah, on the left side, Billy. On your left side, yes.
Right. You said right.
No, right is liver, left is spleen.
Okay, hold on.
Why did he throw the liver our
He
way
wanted to
then?
make sure he's explaining where
He
your
told us
organs
to go
are.
right. He should have told us to take a left.
Okay.
I gotta make a
Fine.
U-turn.
Live from ESPN Studios in South Beach. It's the Dan LeBerfeld Show with the Stugartz.
Warm on the XFL. He is upgraded. We will get to Billy's thoughts as the shipping container. Mike Ryan had money on one of the teams in the XFL, and so did Stugartz. And
You
so did.
undersold us.
How did you suck Stugartz into betting the XFL where you literally don't know anything about what you're watching?
I beg to differ. 3-1.
Oh God!
3-1 over the
Now,
weekend.
just go clear your throat somewhere.
Hold on a second.
Jeez,
It's cleared.
is it?
I think so.
It's not.
I hope so.
It
I
ain't.
mean, can you just?
I was doing voice exercises on the drive in today. Clearly, they didn't help. I was going, ESPN Radio is presented.
Oh.
Nope, it doesn't
yeah,
work.
no.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievably bad.
That's your voice
It
exercise?
is so.
Yep.
It's just you talking.
I did some of that on the drive in.
All right,
Worked well.
just please go to the penalty box for 2 minutes.
Whoa!
I mean, it's just it's unpleasant. People can't be enduring this in the morning to start their work week as they try and get ready for everything that faces them.
Unique, New York, working fine. It's cleared. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Boom!
2 minutes, get out of here.
Oh my God.
What?
You sound so bad.
I have to go.
Yes, go drink some water, gargle with turpentine, do something.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Boom!
All right, you have to be more professional than
I'm
this.
out of here.
All right, good God. Everything he says is covered and soaked in phlegm, disease, everything else. Get out of here. What are you doing in here still?
I owed money. I was like,
No, you don't owe money. Just leave. Thank you.
See ya.
Gosh. Guys, what are we going to do about this? He's going to continue to deteriorate. It's the one talent he has. It's not speaking well. It's being able to speak without totally disgusting you, even though most of what he says is already disgusting.
He sounds how he should sound. What are you talking about? He's Stugartz.
Consistently, the Monday first words out of his mouth are always going to be bad.
How many cigarettes did he smoke on the way in?
A lot.
That's what he meant by vocal exercise.
I walked out into the green room area, and I was just like, I came back into Anthony. I was like, wow, it smells like heaters out there.
He does. He has kept that. He managed to somehow keep that a secret from me for a decade. I don't know how. Because now I can't, you know how you can't unsee something? I can't unsmell him. Like now, every time he walks in, I think that he's covered in Marlboro. So we will get back to Stugartz in a moment, but I'm wondering whether any of you were made uneasy at all. Here we go. Is that what you said, Chris? I just saw you. I saw you.
Yeah.
You don't even know where he's going, but Chris just said, "Oh, here we go."
I saw you
know
mouth.
Inevitably, it's a place where none of us should have actually been.
No,
feeling
you have
uneasy.
no
Right,
idea.
yeah.
Let me
There's
hear.
a horse involved,
let me-
and you're high on it.
Let me hear you. No, I'd like to hear where you thought. You didn't even let me finish. For those of you not watching on television, I said, "Are any of you uneasy?" And I saw Chris mouth. Here we go. So, what did you think I was going to talk about there?
Oh, you know, the XFL, like, you had fun with that, but it's also very dangerous.
Yeah,
Did you see those
football,
hits?
collisions.
Yeah.
Concussion.
Yeah.
Kobe
Go ahead.
Bryant.
Make me feel bad.
I care about their safety.
Did anybody feel uneasy? Nope, but I guess we are now. Go ahead.
Well, Bob Knight is what I wanted to talk about.
I am shocked. You know what? I saw this coming.
What do you mean you saw it coming? You guys just did a whole XFL rip. Where,
Yeah,
you
he
did
said
say it?
Yeah.
Contrarian.
It was one of the three
Celebrating
things.
the penalty box.
And oddly
No,
enough,
you
Oh, you know. Why would you leave? I mean,
stay
you
here.
won.
Celebrating the
No.
penalty box.
You won.
oddly enough, I did feel a little uneasy.
Yeah.
This is, I don't have any idea if you saw the video of him jostling with Dick Vitale. I don't know what happened there, whether he was somebody who, like Adrian Beltre, doesn't like to be touched on the head.
Yeah. I think he was kidding around, but his health has deteriorated, so it made it seem a lot more uncomfortable than it was.
The fact that he started a defense chant right after it made me think, okay, because at first, for the first 6 seconds, you're like, oh my God, he's angry that he touched him. But then he just has a little smirk and starts chanting defense. So I'm like, okay, I think that was a joke.
Well, Donald Trump entered the fray saying what a fantastic human being Bob Knight is, and coach and human being. And he's right about coach, but Bob Knight was kind of a violent jerk. Not even kind of. I could remove the kind of there. If I'm looking at the phrase kind of a violent jerk, I'm keeping the jerk and the violent and getting rid of the kind of.
Unrepentant, too.
Yes.
Feels like he's done nothing wrong.
And that is correct. Even though he, left Indiana in shame, hadn't been back in a couple of decades, and then came back to a whole lot of cheering this weekend.
I feel like his health deteriorating is part of the reason that they were like, let's bring him back. Let's celebrate him before he's gone, so we can do this in front of him.
There you go. And that is a good reason to do it. But he behaved in a way when he was running college sports in America that felt abusive with the power in a way that we no longer tolerate. He was a madman. His legacy is as someone who did some winning in terms of getting to the Final Four, but not as much winning as his reputation would suggest. He didn't seem to like getting the players who were better than everybody else. Like, he had a real problem with powerhouse players. And what you ended up seeing was him perpetually abusing this power that he had. He could keep everyone a little more helpless. He's sort of the dinosaur dictator coach from another time, and, did things like throw a chair, did things like saying, if you're going in an interview, saying that if you're going to be raped, you might as well sit back or lay back and enjoy it. Like, he comes from a totally different time. And I guess I should look at it a little more like Chris is looking at it and saying, well, let's give him the eulogy while he's still here, while he's still around to hear it, because he doesn't seem well from the outside. Welcome back, Stugartz. Do you sound any better? Did you do any other voice exercises while you were in the penalty box?
I did. Me. A eulogy while I'm still alive sounds nice.
Yeah, it's better than the alternative, certainly. Also, your voice exercises are how you just think about everything in life when it comes to everything, which is me.
My life has been a vocal exercise, Dan.
You do sound a little bit better, though.
Thank you. Yeah.
What I mean, it's not. You still don't sound like a professional broadcaster.
It's
Right now,
listen.
the Levitard show, because seriously, you guys are going to get a eulogy. How can you not talk about the Oscars, for God's sake? Parasite makes history. It's the first non-English language film to win Best Picture, and you guys are talking about Stugartz's eulogy. Come on, let's go Parasite.
Get him out of here! How did he crack the system again?
I thought we changed that number.
How did this happen?
Oh, we saw history, people. We saw
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. Tune in tonight for college basketball action as Duke hosts Florida State. Coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Go 0 for 10. Are you kidding me? A masterpiece from Scorsese. For God's sake, the guy's 77 years old. Give him an Oscar.
PN Radio and the ESPN app. Here's your SportsCenter update. Former NFL wide receiver Matthew A. Cherry won an Academy Award for his animated short film, Hair Love. The win was dedicated to the late Kobe Bryant, who won an Academy Award 2 years ago in the same category for Dear Basketball. John Bones Jones defeated Dominic.
Are you kidding me? Another animated film. How many Toy Stories do we need here? We're going to get Toy Story 27 is going to win an Oscar one day? And why was Eminem there? What is this, the Grammy?
Nick Reyes via unanimous decision at UFC 247 to retain the light heavyweight title and ending Reyes' undefeated run. SportsCenter brought to you by Bolt 24. Being an athlete is 24/7, so stay hydrated with Bolt 24 with antioxidant vitamins A and C, electrolytes from watermelon and sea salt, and no artificial sweeteners.
God, Brad Pitt finally won an Oscar. Now things are finally turning out good for Brad Pitt, okay? God, you're the sexiest man alive, and now you're going to win an Academy Award. Congratulations, okay?
Or flavors, Bolt 24 all-day hydration for all-day athletes. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
More than Stu from the Clevelander on ESPN Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? It is the Mike and the Mad Dog program on a Thursday in New York. We're going to discuss a controversial bunt in the third inning of a game that took place in July. But first,
It's Wednesday.
Mike, how are you? And enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat, get a Vivid seat. Golic and Wingo will be live this Friday from Chicago for the NBA All-Star Game. Brought to you by Bolt 24, all-day hydration for all-day athletes.
Aren't you going to see if you can become the assistant coach for Stephen A. Smith during the celebrity NBA game?
Well, I'll be in Chicago this weekend. I'm not going specifically for the All-Star Game, but I will be in Chicago for a Northwestern women's lacrosse event. They have 2 games and a clinic for some of our kids. So I'll be in Chicago, and I figured when in Rome, perhaps I can latch on as an assistant coach. I'd like to play in the celebrity game. I don't know if that's going to happen. But an assistant coach to either Stephen A. Smith or Michael Wilbon. I mean, I feel like that's in order. It's not happening with Wilbon, we know that. But perhaps Stephen A. Smith, maybe you can make a call or two. I don't know.
I think Stephen A. Smith might be down for having an assistant coach. No? Oh, Mike Ryan is shaking his head. No. Is Stephen A. Smith not a sharer of platform?
Not with me.
Precisely. Not with Stugartz. Because perhaps it's hard to share the stage with Stephen A. Smith if you're Michael B. Jordan. But if you're Stugartz, it's damn near impossible.
Well, what happened yesterday on the Oscars? I saw that Stephen A. Smith, as part of his new contract, must have negotiated something with ABC where he does something with the Oscars as well. I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. I would not want to do that. It would just.
You wouldn't want to be surrounded by movie stars and starlets and have the eyes of the world descend upon you? Of course you would.
I was thinking last night that I feel like the Oscars was missing a host. They had Chris Rock and Steve Martin come out and kind of do it. Man, but you just got me thinking now. Stephen A. Smith is the host. Because you already got all the Oscar people that are going to show up. You bring the sports people over. Oh, man.
With me as a co-host.
Sure.
Yeah,
why are people confused by Eminem's performance last night? I didn't see it.
Well, in part because there's no host. So they did this really.
So it was like the Grammys, right?
He
It
just
was-
pops up. There he is.
But it was
they did
just,
this
all I heard
montage.
people talking about was the musical performances.
Right, so they did this montage of like music and cinema, which was cool, I guess. It didn't really make any sense because there was no real anniversaries we were celebrating. It's just like, hey, music in movies is pretty cool. And then they do this, like, they dedicate a little bit more time to 8 Mile, which is all right. I dug that song. That's cool. And then you hear the memorable guitar riff, and then you realize, oh man, Eminem is here. There's some mic problems, but I legitimately got goosebumps because that song, it resonates, like, and you realize, oh, Eminem's there. And then like a few seconds go by, and you start asking, why? Like, why is he here? It seems odd. No one told me, and it confused the audience.
But was it odd? I think it's odd for everybody involved. It's odd because that's not a place that you expect Eminem. Eminem is not exactly.
Well, he's an Oscar winner. He won for that song, so it makes sense. But this isn't the vibe for it because it's a black tie event. Everyone's tuxedoed. It's not the Grammys. You can get away with like an unannounced music moment like that at the Grammys, but everyone was confused. But I'm most disappointed in Billie Eilish, who's like from that scene. Billie Eilish does this thing at award show now where she's just confused by everything. Like if you're in your 30s, she will make you okay boomer feel old.
I could feel the pressure from the production studio freaking out because you could tell. I knew that in their studio they were saying, we need to find somebody who's enjoying this because they were trying to keep cutting to the crowd. They just wanted somebody bobbing their head, and they kept going back to like the same 3 people that were into
Confusing. Someone get me the kid from Hamilton. Someone. Oh, thank God. The kid from Hamilton that had to introduce himself, that Lin-Manuel Miranda told us is a movie star. And I'm like, you don't make that decision for me, Lin-Manuel. I'll decide if Anthony Ramos is a movie star. I'll decide.
I think Billie Eilish was 1 when Eminem won the Oscar, so it's possible Billie Eilish doesn't know who Eminem
There's
is.
still a thing, though. Like, get over yourself, Billy. Just because you might not be a huge fan of Eminem doesn't mean you need to make that face.
Eminem's so releasing. Like, she gave a face to Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph. Like, you don't remember Bridesmaids?
Yeah.
Like, what are you, 7 years old?
Guillermo, put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Does Renee Zellweger seem like someone who takes herself very seriously?
But Mike, when Eminem won, he did not show up to that particular award show, right?
Wow.
What happened there?
Renee Zellweger at the table. What's going on there?
Well, I saw Billy say what's going on there, and I'll tell you what's going on there. I was pivoting off of your "Get Over Yourself." Off of was it Chris who just said "Get Over Yourself"? Then I started thinking about people who take themselves too seriously at a televised award show. That's what happened there.
I think Billie Eilish was 9 when Bridesmaids came out.
So okay? Does Billie Eilish know who Eminem is at LeBatard Show? I don't.
I mean, what is she quarantined from the rest of the world? I know she's young, but Jiminy Christmas.
Well, Mike, here's the thing, though. Oh, yeah, Jiminy Christmas is a great phrase.
Ron McGill?
A couple of things here. Something happened to me that revealed my age here the other day. I was surprised that Travis Kelce, "You Got to Fight for Your Right to Lombardi," that's a really old song. Like that's a song that I'm assuming Travis Kelce wasn't born yet when that song, "You Got to Fight for Your Right to Party" by the Beastie Boys came out. But this is something that legitimately happened to me. I'm not making this up. This happened to me yesterday at Trader Joe's. I'm at Trader Joe's, and I'm paying at the end of my wonderful experience at Trader Joe's, where you could get 3 bags of cheap stuff for the cost of half a bag of Whole Foods stuff. And as I'm giving the guy cash, he's sort of drifting off and not paying that much attention. And then he snaps to, and he says, "I forgot we take cash. You're the first person today to give it to me." In a place that was just teeming with people. He actually said, like, he was confused by the bills that I had in his face. I'm not even making that up. I don't know how I could have felt older.
Did he ask a group to come? Hey guys, this guy is cash.
It's like if I
Inspected it
it's
under
like if
light.
I
There's a guy with cash over here.
Mike, he would have been less surprised if I had pulled a baby dinosaur out of my pocket.
This show ain't free. Time for some ads.
I love cash.
Bomani Jones, that's a good T-shirt. Angel, get on it. I love cash. Bomani Jones is going to join us next to talk about this Bobby Knight thing that makes me uneasy and makes Chris say, here we go. 1-800-FLOWERS. We got Valentine's Day this week, and I'm going to get more aggressive about threatening you. 1-800-FLOWERS. You better do it or you're an idiot. 1-800-FLOWERS. You're going to blow this. Do better. Be more romantic. Save your love life. 1-800-FLOWERS. Tell them God.
Yup, and do it today because today only you can get the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99. That's right, the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99. Bouquets are available only while supplies last. To order the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99, simple. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Dan. Hurry, the offer expires today.
You're listening to the titillating Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
Bomani, the DMX story. That's funny.
I would first like to say apparently Mina does a very good DMX. If you sound like the Cookie Monster, you're halfway there.
Pat Riley and Phil Jackson ahead of Timmy D and Steve Nash.
Nick's gonna give it to you.
Don't try it again. Hold on. You got 5 seconds. You got 5 seconds. If you got anything better, hurry up.
Nick's gonna give it to you.
Find anywhere on ESPN's platform of podcasts, almost as good as Stupidity. I saw your face, Stugartz. You didn't like anyone being in your elite air, but The Right Time with Bomani Jones is something you should check out, and also High Noon, 4 p.m. Eastern. Got a lot to get to here. First things first, Bo, thanks for being on with us. What did you do with all the Bob Knight nostalgia this weekend?
Yeah, I guess I kind of get it if you're an Indiana fan and your relationship with him is a little deeper than it would be for the rest of us who just kind of observe it. But what I didn't understand were all the people who covered this nationally who then looked at this as being some sweet thing, like, oh, Bobby Knight gets to come back home. Isn't that wonderful? He hasn't acknowledged any measure of responsibility whatsoever for the circumstances that got him fired, was mad at the people for firing him even though he was on a zero tolerance. After the people who fired him, they're all gone or dead, like gone from Indiana or dead, still held on to this grudge, still held on to this grudge, and we all know that he was dead damn wrong. So why do we think that this is so sweet?
What's the answer to that?
I think part of it is just the idea that he's an old man. I think another part of it is our general reverence for this idea of coaching, and that in the end, as long as you won those games, nothing else mattered. And up until Knight was, let me do the math, 47 years old, I want to say, you couldn't imagine somebody pulling off more under the circumstances that he did. Like, he is a virtuoso basketball coach. He also there's no evidence to indicate that he's a good dude. And we're giving him the good dude treatment, and that's what I don't understand.
What's his legacy? Because I was saying that great coach, yes, and Donald Trump came out and said great coach and fantastic person, but also violent jerk.
Yeah, like so the Dick Vitale thing that happened in this game, where Vitale touched his hair and then Knight yoked him up. How sure are we that Knight was joking, right? Like, we got enough evidence to indicate that he does punch people for stuff like that. How much evidence do we have that he's joking? He's yoked up the nicest man in the world, right? So to me, the legacy is going to be, if strictly we're talking about basketball, one of the best basketball coaches that we've ever seen. I also think in a lot of ways he turned into a bit of a cautionary and illustrative tale. Because, yeah, we still give coaches too much deference, right? We still give them too much reign over the programs they have. But he is the ultimate example of what happens when you let it go too far. Because to me, the thing that gets lost about Knight is by the time Bob Knight turned 36, he'd won a national championship, been to 2 Final Fours, had 2 undefeated regular seasons, and had an ego so big that Larry Bird left campus and he was like, fine, leave. And guess what? Without Larry Bird, on teams that Larry Bird is supposed to play on, 2 undefeated regular seasons and a national championship.
Stugatz, you know the meme of Homer Simpson sort of in shame trying to hide backward in some bushes. When Kevin Durant said, I played with some non-skilled players this weekend, I imagine Thabo Cephalosha hearing that and just falling back into some shrubbery. Is Kevin Durant wrong saying that he left OKC, at least in part, because he was playing with a bunch of guys who couldn't shoot?
No, he said everything that we said. Right? Everything that we said about the shortcomings of those teams is what Kevin Durant said. I do think there's something to be said, though, for the idea that it always seems to be another story. But there was nothing really, like, insulting that I think he said in this or anything that he was wrong about that he said. The bigger problem I had is where he said he's still going to keep that one burner account. For what? Why don't you understand that this is the poorest reflection on you as a person that any of us can think of, that you feel the need to go become an anonymous person and defend yourself, and nobody knows it's you, man. It's you.
Leon Rose going to the Knicks. This was interesting. Worldwide West going to the Knicks. That's even more interesting. What do you make of both that and the idea that people are now evidently just hiring guys who have relationships in the event that they might be able to get a Karl Anthony Towns to come play for the Knicks?
Oh, I thought you were going to say people who were learning that Leon Rose is white. I imagine there's some people that hear that name and did not realize, hey, given the Knicks track record, right, you would have thought that Leon was a black dude. No, Leon Rose is white.
Yes.
Especially coming in with Worldwide West, though. Like, we were talking about this last week. Not a lot of Jewish Leons we could think of.
See, I don't know. I guess we might need to look that up. I feel like when I be watching Law and Order, that the Leon could go either way. On who is going to turn out to be when they put it on the screen, Office of Leon, whoever it is. You never know, man. Homie might have a yarmulke. It all depends.
We found one, Bo. We found one, and then I found another over the weekend, Leon Hess.
Yeah, see, you got to realize I'm Southern, man. Like, Leon's and Leroy's, like, that could go either way. But, I mean, he might know what he's doing. I have no idea. I would have had no reason to think that Bob Myers could run the Warriors when they brought him in to be the agent. And the thing with Wes is, Wes does know people. Wes gets things done. And what the Knicks do need is, like, somebody that people can trust. And Wes, as much as we find him mysterious, the people that he deals with trust him. So if they got some people that folks trust, then maybe they can make something happen. I do love the idea, though, of getting them all psyched up on the idea that Joel Embiid could be a Knick. Because Knicks fans, what used to make them great is how little it took them to get optimistic. Now they so beat that they can't generate optimism. We need something that allows them to get their hopes up well before they should.
Can you explain to the audience the mystery and the aura around World Wide West? Because for those who do not know, this is a mid-50s basketball figure. He's mid-50s in age. And I don't know that I've ever heard a story like his where he's a power broker, but no one knows what the hell he does.
Yeah, this is what I'll tell you. I was at the office when the Leon Rose news came down, and I was talking to a couple former players, and I said, hey, you know he's bringing Wes with him, and their eyes went like saucers, right? Like once they heard that Wes was coming around, they were like, oh, okay. And so he's a guy that's known all the players, had a strong relationship with Michael Jordan. Rick Mahorn, I think, is the guy that kind of like walked him into the league. The thing with Wes has always been for players is they said he was the one guy who never asked for anything. He always came through for you, but he was the guy who never asked for anything. But then he parlayed that in working with CAA, and he became an agent for coaches. Like in college, he'd really become that dominant figure because once he had a relationship with LeBron. Leon Rose used to represent LeBron, in fact. He had that relationship with LeBron, and then once that kind of faded away, his influence in that generation of players went away, but he still has influences on guys who are older, and guys who are older still matter. And so maybe this is the guy. Like, I don't think that they needed somebody to help them get players, but they needed somebody to help them set up the operation. And can they get Jim Dolan to just get out of the way? Because I read something that was interesting. It said the best thing that Jim Dolan can do is just stop going to games. And if Steve Stout can convince him to stop going to games, then things can get better.
Bo, thank you for the time, sir. The Right Time with Bomani Jones. You need to check it out. Also, high noon, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Money, 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 money.
If I have to tell you fools again to prepare for Valentine's Day without getting angry, I'm going to start getting angry. 1-800-Flowers. Tell them, Stugartz.
Yep, today would be a good day because today only you can get the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99. That's right, the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. The 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99 is one of the best Valentine's offers you'll find, but it expires today. Bouquets are available only while supplies last. Just pick your delivery date and let 1-800-Flowers handle the rest. To order the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Dan. Hurry, the offer expires today.
You're listening to the sensational Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
Stugatz, you don't do any impersonations, do you?
Well, Stugatz, you do that Christopher Walken so well.
That Christopher Walken you did so well when you were put on the spot and asked to improv.
A fortnight.
Just terrible. His Christopher Walken is...
I wish I had a tail.
That was the best one you've done. It was still terrible. It was still no, it was terrible.
It was so terrible I didn't know what he was doing.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan LeBerfeld podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, 1% on all other purchases. Capital One, what's in your wallet? All guests on the Dan LeBerfeld Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Bob Saget going to join us here in about 12 minutes. Stugartz's Weekend Observations coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. A tweeter writes in asking the question, and I think this is a good looks like for our looks like game. Does Justin Bieber 2020 look like he's trying to convince Justin Bieber 2009 to get into his van? If you see what Justin Bieber looks like, it's the mustache. The mustache is creepy and scary, and it's not just his mustache. It's the mustache in general. I believe if you choose to put that between your upper lip and your nose, you are welcoming a whole lot of skepticism from everyone worldwide. Tweeter also writes in at LeBerfeld Show. Amazing Fat, ugly Batard trashes Kobe Bryant after dying in a crash with his daughter and now criticizing Bob Knight. Why the need? Does it make you feel like you have a larger appendage now? Pathetic.
He's that guy.
Bob Knight was celebrated like a conquering hero, and you just heard Bomani Jones tell you that he left without apology for what was disgraceful behavior that got him fired. And I think everything that you're watching when you're watching a celebration of a man's life should be as complete as you can make it. If you're going to make him bathe in the applause and all of the celebration that got him to that distorted ego where he felt so powerful. If you lived through it, you remember that he was not giving a bleep what anyone thought about anything regarding decorum, including being physical with his players in a way that's totally unacceptable.
If you want to know why there are questions about Bob Knight and what happened yesterday, go look at the list of incidents, of controversies that Bob Knight has been through throughout his career, and then you'll understand why. I mean, it's very simple. It's very simple.
But his legacy doesn't get to be just pure applause.
No.
That's not the way that one works. He's as controversial an authority figure as we've ever had in sports, and he would not survive this time because he did not survive his time. Like, he got old on our watch in a way that was disgraceful. It was literally disgraceful. Indiana was full of disgrace and got rid of a guy who's impossible to get rid of unless he's full of disgrace. Like, it wasn't last drop in a bucket stuff that made it, untenable to have Bob Knight. It was a career resume that was a bit appalling. And it had stuff on it that simply wouldn't fly now. And furthermore, didn't fly then.
And contrition might have honestly helped him get through it, but he didn't want to apologize whatsoever. He saw nothing wrong.
Indiana kept him until the year 2000, I believe, and it probably should have ended a lot sooner. I mean, if you really look at the controversy list, it probably should have ended about 10 years earlier.
His resume protected him for a long time and made him a bloated ego monster that ruled his sport and abused his power. And when I say that, he deserves the applause that he got for his winning in that region. I'm just going to point out to you some of the other stuff that got him to where it is that he was, and I don't think it's irrelevant, Stugartz, that there was no growth or contrition, that there wasn't anything other than just a perpetual defense. I remember being introduced to Bob Knight, like the character by Frank DeFord, one of the best sports writers ever, profiling sport in Sports Illustrated, one of the great profiles I have ever read. The guy got bloated on ego, and he deserved to leave Indiana in disgrace. And it's nice that everyone has forgiven him in Indiana. It's nice that he could get a cool moment over the weekend when, I'm not even sure, and this,
That's a cool moment, but if Bob Knight's ego has run amok, how about Joaquin Phoenix? Can anybody make sense of what his speech was last night winning Best Actor? You talk about one of the weirdest guys that roams the earth. He started talking about cow's milk. You talk about Bob Knight and his
How does he continue to do this? What has he figured out about our security system that I thought that
I know his badge isn't working anymore.
I don't understand. I thought we had an electrical fence around what we were doing here in a way that had kept him out for months, and I don't understand how he's got the only code.
In his speech, he said that we take milk from a cow that's meant for a calf and we put it in our cereal. Can somebody find what Joaquin Phoenix is on? Seriously, what concoction?
Has he been talking for months without being able to get through security, and we just haven't?
And Laura Dern is a wonderful actress. You talk about acting royalty. Diane Ladd, of course, is her brother.
Doesn't get any better than the Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
It's just Stugartz.
Just being Stugartz on Radio Row, yeah.
And there was one part that made me laugh so hard. I was like, we got to isolate this. This is just him touring the row.
I mean, this Sirius XM, man, Jesus, they have a lot of money. I mean, there's Doggy. Hey, Doggy, get out there.
Okay, what is that?
That's Doggy.
No.
Super Bowl week, it's right around. It's Doggy.
Yeah, what do you mean that's Doggy?
That's Doggy. That's how Doggy talks.
Doggy, get out there. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. Bob Saget, our friend. He will join us in just a minute here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Live. Here's your SportsCenter update. Darren Collison will remain retired despite interest from the Lakers and Clippers. Meanwhile, the Lakers will have an exploratory conversation with Dion Waiters. That's funny. That's funny. Dion Waiters. Andre Iguodala made his season debut, scoring 2 points.
How did that end up in there?
The Heat lost to the Trailblazers. And finally, a gust of 209 mile per hour was recorded atop a California peak on Sunday. That's insane. There's no way that happened. A potential record that wowed forecasters monitoring a cold storm that moved south through the state, dumping snow, rain, and hail.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. More shocking. 209 mile per hour winds on top of a California mountain, or Antarctica being T-shirt weather, 65 degrees.
SportsCenter is brought to you by Bolt 24. An athlete is an athlete 24/7, and part of always being prepared is always being hydrated. Bolt 24 has antioxidant vitamins A and C, electrolytes from watermelon and sea salt, and no artificial sweeteners or flavors. Bolt 24 is all-day hydration for all-day athletes. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
So Bob will be at the Miami Improv this Friday through Sunday. If you want tour dates, visit bobsaget.com. Thanks for being on with us. Again, Bob, it's been a while.
I miss Bob. I was going to say, I miss Bob. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. And I want to just talk to you about a variety of different things. But before we go down this path, how about the Oscars last night? Anything that you saw last night that interested you?
That's interesting. I was good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
I do like You Played Forever, the John Stamos classic from Full House. You played that in the background there, even while selling things, and that is one of my least favorite songs ever written. But
he did that just for you.
And went, oh no, this is going to go on a while, and it did, and I appreciate it. That's my wake-up music, anyway. I think it was weird last night because Eminem, when he sings, I don't think the audience even knew it was Eminem. Something strange happened where they should know. I mean, a lot of them do. I think a lot of the rappers knew because he's, one of the best alive. But Billie Eilish, it was funny. They made a lot of memes out of her just looking back in sheer terror when Maya Rudolph and Kristen Wiig did all their parody stuff. That was so incredibly funny. She was just like, oh, this singing's bad. I don't think she knew. I think people aren't just jerks. I think they're just out of touch with everything because they work hard on what they're doing. They're, I guess, narcissistically tied to that. So.
And it's a whole audience of self-important people.
Yes, and they literally, everything they're talking about is all they do all day long. That's all they work on. They know that, and they know they're upset about the world. If they do watch the news, but that's about, and they love their kids because they say that, and
that's about it. That's all of Hollywood. That's it. That's all of Hollywood. You just sideswiped all of Hollywood, Saget.
Well, I was worried, man, because it was raining, and I thought a lot of faces were just going to turn to wax, just melt. But I didn't see a lot of Rubbermaid. People look pretty good. I thought. I can't. Who knows? You watch TV.
No. Brad Pitt at 56 looks a lot different than Art Carney at 56.
Yeah, it is a total. And I'm 63, and it's just a different thing. It's just a different world. I'm not saying I look like Brad Pitt, although I do believe that. But that's just from the waist down, and only from the back. But
did you?
But he's actually one of the nicest people and has a real vision for what he does and honesty. He's just a good guy. He's just, hates to burst people's bubble. He's like a
Well, you traffic in this giant celebrity circle. Stugartz has a bunch of questions for you about your relationship with John Mayer.
I mean, is it true that he played at your wedding, Bob? Is that true?
Yeah, he did. He did, and then I married him. And he is one of my dearest friends. And it was interesting because John Stamos is also one of my dearest friends. So it was most of my friends are named John. But and then to most of the women I dated, I was a John. You can't do those jokes anymore. See, that's where I got to be careful. When I go out to stand up, if you're going to do a joke that brings up that
for you, but that's tame for you. Like I want to know still, and I know we've talked to you about this some in the past. Again, Bob Saget, he is going to be at the Miami Improv this weekend. How often are people shocked by how dirty you?
Well, I'm not that dirty anymore. See, that's the thing they have. That's why they have to come see the new tour because it's a brand new hour. It's going to be a new special in the fall. I'm going to shoot it, and it's really a very. I'm not saying it's not R-rated, but there was one special where I dropped F-bombs so much that if you made a drinking game, you'd have to go to rehab, and that was on HBO years ago, and that's what people were like, what? And that's when I was on Entourage a lot, and the Aristocrats came out, and that's when, that was pretty X. I mean, the Aristocrats, as far as the language goes. But I just use any words as an expletive. I don't use them as a verb too much. I think most people are dirtier than me. Not most. There's so many clean people. Okay, I don't have an opinion of my own work, but I am really into the Billie Eilish look, and I think that's going to change everybody's mind on me. I'm going to be like a tall Jew leprechaun. It's going to be great.
Bob
I'll
Saget.
grant people's wishes. Go ahead. Sorry. You were saying my
leprechaun
name.
I'm sorry for you, Bob.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you were
right.
saying my name. Yes, it'll stop him in his tracks every time.
You say it 3 times and you get your wish. And what do leprechauns do? They find the pot of gold of the rainbow, but not the ones in the movie. The movie eats your dog.
That's right. That's right.
Bob Saget with us here on ESPN Radio. Bob will be at the Miami Improv this Friday through Sunday. For upcoming tour dates, visit bobsaget.com. How did your friendship with John Mayer start? Like, how did we arrive at this place? I am angling for something, Bob, just so you know, okay?
It's a serious story, actually, and I'll make it brief because who wants one of those? But I lost a sister years ago to this disease called scleroderma, and I'm on the board of the Scleroderma Research Foundation. We've been doing benefits for 30 years. We raised over $50 million in research. So John was kind enough to do the benefit one year, and I had just lost my father. Please hold your laughs till the end. And
how do I transition?
And when the benefit was over, I do gallows humor. We had a lot of death in my family. I didn't know what else to do, so that's what I just do that. But we're still trying to help all these victims of this disease. And John was very into it. And he's done the benefit many times. Robin Williams was the first to do it, and he did it 7 times after that. What a beautiful man he was. And so John and I ended up doing stand-up that night. We left. It was like 1 in the morning, went to the Laugh Factory in L.A. This was 13, 14 years ago, something like that. So he did stand-up, and I brought him up, and then he started doing a combination of irreverence of a man with a goat and being with a goat. And I said, no, let me help you make this funnier. Rather than say, don't talk about that, I said, oh, no, you got to do a hoof and mouth thing. Cloven hooves, and they keep slipping when you're trying to hold them. That's all wrong, But we have a similar sense of humor, and, we just care about each other. But I'm fortunate to have some wonderful friends, and I have a great wife who's not here in my bed with me, which is great.
You proposed to her. You proposed to her unusually, right? Like it was it kind of spur of the moment?
No, I planned it. I just said, and I have been talking about this in my stand-up because the best thing, I really proposed to her just so I'd have a new 7 minutes because, stand-up is all that I care about. But I said to her by mistake, I shouldn't have said it, I want to spend whatever days I have left with you. And she didn't care for that. so I had to repeat it. And and then it goes. I could tell you more about it, but it does go into the R-rated area because she was on the phone for 4 hours, and I thought we were going to hook up, and so I ended up with a little Smurf problem down below. But
sorry.
Yeah, but she's amazing. She just she's coming home tonight, and I love her so much. I'm picking her up at the airport. You love somebody if you do that.
I think I burned my Bob Saget favor a while ago, and now I'm upset because of this relationship he has with John Mayer, and I love Dead & Company, and I want you to introduce me to John Mayer. My daughter wants to meet him and all this stuff, but I did ask you years ago to make a birthday video for my kids, and you did that, and I feel like I've run out of favors. So, I mean,
no, there's no such thing as running out with me. As long as I don't have to do anything where I'm nude and tied to something in your home, then I'm fine. What would you like me to do? You want me to arrange your kids to spend a week with John Mayer?
That'd be nice. Yes. COB, preferably, if you can get back to me today.
Bob will be at the Miami Improv this Friday through Sunday. For upcoming tour dates, visit bobsaget.com. Good catching up with you, Bob. Thanks for stopping in.
And where are you guys located?
We are at the Clevelander. You've been here. You've been here.
Oh, God, yes.
Right.
Okay, it's all coming back.
Yeah.
I'll be up there. I'm touring everywhere. I'm touring the whole country. So I'm actually also next week, after I do the weekend in Miami, I'm in Tarrytown, New York at a theater, and Inglewood, New Jersey, and Atlantic City, I'll be at the Hard Rock. That sounds like a comic talking, doesn't it?
BobSaget.com is where you got to go if you want more information like that.
The Clevelander is in Miami, Bob, not in Cleveland.
That is what it just dawned on me.
Yeah,
I will be out that way in Cleveland at the Clevelander, which is a ship at sea in Ohio.
Ship, he said. Ship with a P. Thank you.
I said ship.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you didn't have to hit the button. Well, can you come to the show? It's not payola. It's a good thing.
Well, it's Valentine's Day weekend.
Can Mayor come to the show? And I'll be there.
Boy, you are such a man cub for him.
Expect a call from me later, Bob.
Bob, thank you for stopping through.
Thank you guys again. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Pay that man his money.
I'm gross.
Yeah, you are. Advance Auto Parts. The car is important. You need to take care of it. Start by going to Advance Auto Parts. Tell them, Gotts.
Football season is over. Now your Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays are dreadfully open until August. Luckily, Advance Auto Parts has something productive you can do to fill the time. Getting your vehicle's battery tested. It's free, and if your battery is low, they'll install a new one for you with purchase. Plus, enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. The only shame is how fast you'll get in, out, and back to twiddling your thumbs until football starts up again. Think ahead. Think Advance. Only at Advance Auto Parts.
The best in the business, Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
Missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan LeBerfeld podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Venture Card. When you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase, your next trip is closer than you think. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Dan, it's time for Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
We are about to have, in about 15 minutes, Jared Diamond, who did some reporting for the Wall Street Journal, some interesting things you might not have known about the cheating in baseball. We'll get to him in about 15 minutes. Stugartz's weekend observations are coming up at 12 Eastern. Before we get to anything, though, a happy 53rd birthday to Laura Dern.
A happy birthday to her. I don't care. Good luck.
Among the funniest things that I saw this weekend, I couldn't decide. I had never even heard of these independent film awards, but Adam Sandler won for Uncut Gems. I imagine a movie that many people in our audience would like. And he gave a speech that was pretty funny. Billy, did we get the sound cleared on that? It's not cleared?
Not cleared.
You could find it everywhere on the internet, just not allowed to use it here. But also funny from that award ceremony was gay choirs singing about things that have been or look super gay, enjoying the flamboyance of gayness, and going with Laura Dern, a choir singing her name over and over again, and her dancing to her own name was funny. Keep in mind, Laura Dern, and somebody pointed this out on Twitter, Laura Dern went years struggling to get work because she was the love interest for Ellen when Ellen came out, and it's not on the TV show, not in life, just on the TV show, and it affected her ability to work for a long time. It's been nice to see the career resurgence of Laura Dern. She dated Baron Davis for a while, right? Baron Davis. What are you smiling about, Roy?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, what a couple.
You know a lot about Laura Dern. I mean,
I love Laura Dern.
I do too. I mean, she's fantastic. I just didn't know that nugget about Baron Davis. Where are we going with this?
Renata is an excellent. There have been few characters better than her portrayal of Renata in Big Little Lies. Did you watch that at all? It fell apart at the end, but did you? There's a lot of good stuff on HBO, man. The Outsider show, the Jason Bateman show, is really strong.
You'd think I'd be drawn to something called Big Little Lies. I was not, though. I never saw it. I didn't watch it. It seems like it'd be something in my wheelhouse, though.
It does. Mike is a big fan of The Outsider as well. He's been consuming some of that because Bateman is making interesting choices late in life. That Ozark show.
Well, Laura Dern's a wonderful actress. As I said earlier, she's part of acting royalty and certainly has made a lot of excellent films over the years. It's hard when both of your parents are actors to live up to that high standard, but Laura Dern certainly acquitted herself. I mean, she carried the torch here for Marriage Story, which, again, should have been called...
As I've said earlier, like we're already in that portion. As I said earlier, he's been talking for how many months on a line that wasn't active, leaving messages for all you guys about, all of his film interests.
He's in the zone, man.
That's all you had?
What?
Well, I thought you would give me something conversationally that wouldn't be just a dead
for 7
fish.
months, all right? I've been talking for 7 months during this entire award season, and not once have you guys put me on. Finally, I was able to break through today, so listen.
Get him out of here. I'm done with him. I was done with him many years ago. I don't want him around anymore. I don't understand how it is that he got in here. Jared Diamond is going to join us here in about 10 minutes as we talk about this Astros scandal and some of the stuff that you might not know. What are you guys laughing about back there? What are you laughing about, Roy? What are you laughing about, Billy? Stop chewing for a moment to tell me what you guys are laughing about.
I love Screech. Screech is terrific. Dustin Diamond, as well as actors, does a lot of good things. I don't think people realize the nuance he brings to his character. That's tougher acting than people realize here, folks.
That is Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart.
Ponte los patines. Time for some ads.
I am right on the cusp of murderous rage already. 1-800-Flowers.
It's only Monday, man.
I know.
Relax.
1-800-Flowers. Valentine's Day is coming up. You guys better do this right. Call 1-800-Flowers. Tell them Stugartz.
You better do it today, because today only you can get the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99. That's right, the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley, just $29.99. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. The 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99 is one of the best Valentine's offers you'll find, but it expires today. Do it today, people. Bouquets are available only while supplies last. Just pick your delivery date and let 1-800-Flowers handle the rest. When it comes to impressing her on Valentine's, trust in the Rose Authority, 1-800-Flowers.com. To order the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for just $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Dan. Hurry, the offer expires today.
There is nothing better than the Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
$9 to order. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Click the radio icon. Enter code Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Mike Ryan, this is probably something that I should talk to you off air about, but can we please just get to somebody at ESPN some money, some resources, so that when the Wall Street Journal writes something, or the Washington Post or the New York Times, we here at the worldwide leader in sports don't have to look at me and say, Dan, can't get it for you. It's behind a paywall. I feel like it's fair as a giant radio show that I should never get that answer from you guys as often as I get that answer from you guys. I just want to read something so I could be informed to do my job when the Wall Street Journal writer is coming on with
You
us.
can pay for it and then tax write-off later on.
Okay.
You know?
Just get the last 4 digits of your credit card number, and we'll fire that puppy up.
No, let's go ahead and have Disney pay for that. Disney does pretty good with profit. Let's go ahead and not go into my pocket again, as we do too often around here. Stugartz the other day left laughing at me because all I was doing was writing checks.
And you had a bag of receipts.
That too. Jared Diamond, they can pay for it. Jared Diamond, national baseball writer for the Wall Street Journal, is now going to tell us what his story said, so no one has to go behind the paywall. But Jared, thank you for being on with us. What would you say to the audience is the stuff that you uncovered that people might not have seen elsewhere?
Well, first of all, I think it's that Bob Iger could definitely afford a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, so you should probably get on that. I think he could definitely handle it.
Yep.
So now we're sharing passwords out in the open. I'd rather me just buy one myself, but okay.
Other than that, though, about the Astros, I think what was new, there were a lot of new things here. We had a chance to see this letter that was written by Rob Manfred to Jeff Luhnow on January 2nd, 2020. It contained a lot of information that was not in the public report that came out 11 days after that, specifically that the Astros front office, a couple lower-level front office employees, created this spreadsheet program that they internally called Code Breaker that they used to decode catcher signs illegally. And what it sort of showed was how institutional this rule breaking really was. And it also raised a lot of questions about what Jeff Luhnow actually knew, when he knew it, and whether he should have known. And I think that's what sort of resonated so much with fans, is that there was a lot that MLB didn't say about what they uncovered in this investigation.
Which parts of this would people who care about find most appalling?
Well, there is an email in August of 2017 that was sent by an Astros front office employee named Tom Koch-Wesser that was sent to Jeff Luhnow and a couple other front office staffers. And in that email, it refers to, quote, our dark arts sign stealing department. That was an email that was sent from the Astros front office to Jeff Luhnow. That kind of says it all, right? Dark arts. You don't use the term dark arts to refer to something that's on the up and up. And what's worth noting is that the person who sent that email, Tom Koch-Wesser, he is still working for the Astros in a high-ranking position in the organization. How and why that was never put out publicly, I don't know. But the fact that Jeff Luhnow received an email in August of 2017 referring to the dark arts sign stealing department, that raised my eyebrows for sure.
Why do you think Major League Baseball stayed quiet on some of this, Jared?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that MLB, A, wanted to go after the top people, which were Jeff Luhnow and A.J. Hinch. They were the ones who were suspended. The other thing is MLB wanted to seem sort of swift and decisive, and I think probably wanted it to sort of not be a topic of conversation as we headed into spring training, right? This was a big deal for Rob Manfred. This is sort of the defining moment of his time as commissioner to this point, and maybe there was some stuff they just didn't want everybody to know, so they could go out there and act really tough and make these really harsh penalties. But the problem for MLB now is that spring training is essentially starting today and tomorrow. Teams are starting to report. And I think this is still like the only thing in baseball that people are going to be talking about, which is probably the last thing baseball wanted, but it's where we are.
He's Jared Diamond, national baseball writer for the Wall Street Journal. Given that you've now looked at these things that baseball didn't want you to see, how did Manfred do?
the biggest problem for Rob Manfred was that they were not able to definitively prove exactly what Jeff Lunau knew. They have evidence that he knew about it. They have a lot of evidence that says he should have known, but what they don't have is sort of that real smoking gun, like Jeff Lunau himself in writing, talking about the sign stealings explicitly. And that's important. Like, this is an investigation. I know it's not a court of law, but you still sort of have to have evidence. And while they have some, it's not sort of irrefutable. So given that, I don't necessarily have a problem with how Manfred handled Lunau and Hinch. They were both suspended for a year. I'm quite sure that they had assurances before they made that announcement that those guys were going to be fired. The big question that's outstanding that I think is reasonable to ask is why MLB made this deal with the Players Association to give players immunity. It's clear that there were a lot of players involved. And right at the beginning of all of this, baseball told the MLBPA, we're not going after players. We just want players to cooperate and talk. I know there's a lot of fans out there who are saying, well, that's not right. In fact, we've seen other players out there saying, why weren't players suspended? So that I think is still a fair question as to why baseball took that approach.
Is there another reason other than baseball doesn't actually have that kind of power over players because of the union strength and collectively bargaining away that power? Like, is there another reason other than that one?
Well, the union couldn't have stopped players from being interviewed. Baseball had the right, just by U.S. labor law, to talk to players in an employment dispute like this. But what the union could have done is, one, sort of directed players to not maybe be as forthright as they might be. And also they would have had the opportunity to delay the interviews. The union could have really said, all right, we'll find a time to schedule these interviews with players, come back to us in a few months. And then there would have been grievances. And at the end of the day, this investigation would have taken a year, longer. I mean, when you get grievances involved, it could take many years. Look at how long it took for the Chris Bryant situation to get involved. That took like 3 years. Baseball really did not want that. They wanted this to be quick. They wanted this to be swift, and that's why they were able to do this whole investigation in 2 months. There's no way they would have been able to do that if they didn't have players sort of giving these testimonies very, very early in the process.
Jared Diamond with us, national baseball writer for the Wall Street Journal. I believe it was Jeff Passan who was on with us and said that Hinch will get a job, but Lunau won't ever again. Do you agree with that?
I do. I do think so. And a part of that has to do with Rob Manfred himself. You know, if you read Rob Manfred's public report on this from last month, it sort of lets A.J. Hinch off the hook. Maybe that's not the right way of putting it. Maybe off the hook's the wrong word, but it certainly doesn't bury A.J. Hinch. It sort of paints A.J. Hinch as this sort of reluctant figure who knew was wrong, and his crime was not stopping it, but he had nothing really to do with it, and he knew that it was bad, and he felt so broken up about it. To me, reading that sort of feels like Rob Manfred signaling to the rest of baseball, all right, this guy's all right. Like, this is the guy we could bring back into the fold. Jeff Lunau, on the other hand, this is the guy that he wrote had the problematic culture. That said a lot to me.
Jared, we've got less than a minute left, but I'm surprised by the number of your brethren comfortable saying Lunau is a bad person. Like, it's been startling to me. That's not normally how we cover these folks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I feel comfortable with that either. I mean, look, they were a ruthless organization that did a lot of ruthless things, and they did something that was really wrong, and Jeff Lunau was a part of it. But that said, Jeff Lunau also did some pretty amazing things with the Astros, and I really do think he was a guy that provided value to baseball, and it is a shame that that's going to probably end now because of just a silly, stupid situation of rule breaking that just never should have happened.
A.J. Hinch was too. I mean, I think that's the rub there, right?
We got to go, Jared. Thank you for being on with us. National baseball writer for the Wall Street Journal. Appreciate the time, sir.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Let's go. My private jet isn't going to fuel itself.
You better do this. 1-800-Flowers. Do it.
Oh, he's getting angry.
Do it.
Oh, no.
Do it.
Do it today, because today only you get the 18-stem Enchanted Rose medley for just $29.99. That's right. The 18-stem Enchanted Rose medley for just $29.99. Bouquets are available only while supplies last. To order the 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99, simple. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Dan. Hurry, the offer expires today.
There is nothing better than the Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
And I am telling you, there's nothing like a Ritz-Carlton bed. You can get lost.
I'll take your word for it.
In a Ritz-Carlton bed. Get lost in it. I had my wife looking up how to purchase a Ritz-Carlton bed. The beds at the Ritz-Carlton are the best beds in the history of beds. How about that? And they got little eggs underneath the mattress. Little egg crates.
What?
Delightful.
What? Wait, what?
Delightful.
Okay.
Eggs. XFL history. In the Seattle Dragons DC Defenders matchup, Brandon Silvers found Austin Prohl on a 14-yard pass, which made it 7-3 Seattle at the time. DC won the game 31-19. Today is for doing, and it's brought to you by the Home Depot. With everything you need to do projects smarter, faster, and easier. Welcome to today's Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Guillermo's the only one around here shouting to the heavens, baseball's back. That's all he cares that pitchers and catchers.
Pitchers and catchers, Dano. Whoop, whoop. Yeah.
Not just around here, just in general. He's the only one.
We'll get to the only one in the world.
Red Sox have a manager yet? Yeah, right?
Do the Red Sox? No, they don't, right? Do they have they don't have a manager?
So you just like kind of show up and everybody does whatever they want, or how does that work exactly?
The Red Sox don't have a manager, do they?
I don't think so.
You gotta have one of those when they start, don't you? Or do you?
I don't know.
No, maybe not.
I mean, there's been teams that have changed the way baseball's been done for a while now. You know, different stats and all that stuff. Maybe we're gonna find out that you actually don't need a manager in baseball.
That's put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Are the Red Sox going to prove that you don't actually need a manager when spring training starts?
Looks like Ron Renicky is going to be the guy, but they haven't gotten around to officially naming him.
Man.
Did Scorsese indeed fall asleep during Eminem yesterday? Is that something?
No, he didn't fall asleep. He just didn't seem very interested.
Little respect, Marty. As many Oscars as you do.
Wow. It's too loud for him to fall asleep.
At LeBatard Show on Twitter, if you want to vote on any of the polls. We also have, coming up in 10 minutes, Stugartz's Weekend Observations. We probably ought to explain to you what that sound is on the rejoins that has made me laugh every last time you have played it. It is Chris Mad Dog Russo, Stugartz's sports radio idol. For those of you who haven't seen behind the curtain here, Stugartz's career really took off the moment he started trying to spoof Chris Russo instead of be Chris Russo. And so Stugartz was very happy to have Chris Russo on his podcast, but Chris Russo does not quite respect Stugartz as much as Stugartz respects Chris Russo.
Is it a 50-50 thing, or is it Dan LeBerfeld with Stugartz?
That is, by the way, I did not get to this the other day. That is a conversation where Stugartz is promising that I'm going on that show in exchange for him coming on this show. And so the negotiation, and Stugartz didn't talk to me at all about this.
It was on the fly, man.
I mean, but why would you promise things regarding me that I'm not going to do?
You're not going to do this for me? I mean,
why wouldn't you do that for him?
I mean,
it's as simple as ask.
Because he assumes it. Because he just assumes these things with me. Drags me around by the nose and just makes me do whatever he wants.
You've been in this on-air relationship for 17 years. You obviously know how much he idolizes Chris Mad Dog Russo. Of course he's going to assume that you would just do 15 minutes with Mad Dog Russo. It would mean so much to Stugartz.
I mean, he agreed to a home and home. I will host a show with him one day up at his studios.
I don't want him in my home.
I know, but he's going to be in your home on a day. Well, then stay in your home and don't go away. Never take another day off.
He can stay in my room.
Right.
Stay in my room.
Exactly. So we got a home and home, and you just need to do like a 15-minute call-in spot with Christopher Mad Dog Russo. I figured you would do that for me. You didn't have to ask. Like, Dan, this is my idol, okay? If you had a chance to, I don't know, sit down with Malcolm Gladwell, all right, William Shakespeare, old Bill, I mean, and all that hinged on it was me, spending 10 minutes with old Billy. I don't think I'd do it for you. What do you think?
Chris thinks he has a room.
I got a closet. No?
We're all sharing bunks.
Just play it one more time. He doesn't respect us enough. He doesn't know your name.
Is it a 50-50 thing, or is it Dan LeBerfeld with Stugartz?
So wait a minute. He's asking. So in that negotiation, he's asking whether or not it's going to be a home and home, and he's telling you it's got to be with me.
No. He's saying he'll do the home and home with just me. He just wants you on the phone for 15 minutes to do an interview.
Yeah, he's a big fan of Dan LeBerfeld.
He loves LeBerfeld.
We've got Stugotz's weekend observations coming up.
He called Golic and Wingo garlic and Wingo.
Yeah, so don't take insults.
That's what he does.
It's
He's
almost
a dog.
better for him to not know you.
Garlic and Wingo.
Why do you poop on all our joy?
Wow, harsh. This obviously means a lot to Stugartz.
Stugartz means a lot to Dan LeBerfeld too, though. I think I prove that every day, behind the scenes,
Garlic
with all of those checks I'm writing.
Buddy, this is the Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
What are some of the other books?
Moneyball. Sid Rosenberg had a book.
A Shark Never Sleeps by Drew Rosenhaus.
My personal record book.
Marlins Top of the First by Dan LeBetard.
What's the Dolphins at 50 book that Greg Cody he aggregated himself.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan LeBetard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The deal between the Angels and Dodgers that would have sent Jock Peterson to the Angels is now off the table. Ricky Stenhouse had the fastest lap yesterday, earning the pole for the Daytona 500. And finally, 4 boys who went missing for more than a day during a blizzard in rural Alaska were found alive on Monday and were resourceful when it came to protecting the youngest and most vulnerable to the elements. You know that's a tough word. You guys litter this with tough words, man. That's a tough one for me. You've known that for years. That's why it's in there. I'm not blaming anyone.
You want to try again?
No. Vulnerable.
There you go.
Yeah, but I have to say it like that. Speed it up and it becomes vulnerable.
Yeah, at the very end of it, you get tasered.
Yeah. The children who range in age from 2 to 14 were found about 20 miles outside the village of Nunam-Ikwa on Alaska's west coast, of course. They dug a foot-deep hole in the snow and huddled themselves inside and positioned themselves in a way that the 2-year-old wouldn't be as exposed. It's a good job. Seriously, it's a good job. Where do you need a Blink security camera? Not by me, by them. I mean, it was a terrible job by me.
Yeah, I mean, your speech.
Terrific job by them.
Your speech this segment has been.
Dan, I'm sitting here.
A breathtaking wonder to behold. Yeah, you're sitting there. That's it. That's what
I
you're
know,
doing.
but there's some words here that the guys know are bad words for me. It puts me in a bad place, headed into weekend observations, and it leaves me vulnerable.
I love that. Trying to make the joke there, you actually pronounced it better than you have any of the times you. It's unbelievable. You really can't make it up. You are a comedy genius. You said you were going for the joke there, trying to slur it, and it's the most correctly you've ever said it.
My life.
You botched the joke and made it funnier.
Where do you need a Blink security camera? On your porch to help protect deliveries? Helping keep your family safe when you travel, alerting you when the kids get home from school, Where do you need Blink security cameras? Visit blinkprotect.com/Dan. Do it today. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
It is now time for Stugartz's Weekend Observations.
It is time for Stugartz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend Observations brought to you by Vivid Seats. Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. Dan, the access, the trick plays, and of course, Jerry Glanville. Dan, the XFL is back. UMass women's lacrosse beating Boston College. Statement game. College basketball. You're in a bad place when I'm not interested in Duke, Carolina. I'm sorry. I've watched the video at least 20 times, and each time I'm more convinced Bobby Knight wanted to punch Dicky V in the face.
It's crazy. He was really, I believe that you are right. I believe he wanted to fight Dick Vitale, which is like trying to fight SpongeBob.
The General. Duke, Carolina. Instant classic. Best show on TV. What happened there?
I mean, you just said you weren't interested.
Then it got interesting.
Yeah, it always is between them two, no matter how bad one of them is.
Duke, Carolina. As I said, instant classic. Best show on TV, The Outsider. Very close second, The Stranger. Very close third, The XFL.
It sounds like sexual positions.
Dan, college basketball is back. Dan, you know what you could do when Duke and Carolina get together?
Throw out all the record books.
You could throw out the records, Dano. Good retention there. Fast food chains. If you'd like a clinic on how to work a busy drive-through line, bring a number 2 pencil and a notepad and stop by a Chick-fil-A on a Saturday night. And they know how to do it. They really do. I mean, in and out, boom, 60 seconds. The Bucks are 45-7.
Pretty good.
If you are nominated for an award, and Elton John is also nominated in the same category, some advice: don't show up. You're not winning. New York Guardians. That's the best football to come out of New York in years. Thank you. Red Sox fans, get over yourselves. Bunch of crybabies. The Dallas Renegades having ads on their helmets. Dallas Renegades. The Stugartz is strong in you. Hollywood, no one cares about your dumb awards anymore. And get over yourselves. You're like telling people to get over themselves.
No, I love that. And it's like no one cares about your dumb awards and get over yourself.
Death, taxes, and a UFC controversy involving a judge. A tradition unlike any other. John Bones Jones. That's it. A softer, more relaxed Kevin Gilbride. Maybe just what the doctor ordered for the New York Guardians.
Oh, God.
Having Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on your roster, but not playing, seems like a hoot.
Roy is still laughing at your Kevin Gilbride reference. The very name has sent Roy into howling, seismic, tears in his eyes laughter. Just hearing Kevin Gilbride's name.
He's the HC.
Why did that make us laugh so much? Why does is it just the visual?
Oh, the visual of him and Buddy Ryan. Yeah.
Somehow, Kyrie has managed to play slightly more basketball this season than a man who tore his Achilles in June. Never has so much been made about so little than the comeback turned non-comeback of Darren Collison. Ricky Prohl's son catching 100 passes in the slot for the Patriots. Collision course. Raptors 14 straight. Dan, you know what Nick Nurse can do?
He can coach.
He can flat out coach.
Flat out coach. Wow, he's been upgraded to flat out. Whoa! Look out. I think it's the name Gilbride as well, Roy. I think it's the name, the last name, Kevin Gilbride.
The Pacers are better without Victor Oladipo. What are we going to do if the Nuggets win the title?
Cancel talking about sports on the radio. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Le Batard Show. If the Nuggets win the title, should we cancel sports radio?
Winners of 7 straight. Dan, you know what the Celtics are starting to do?
Get hot at the right time.
They're starting to heat up. Week 2, Battlehawks, Roughnecks, put the kids to bed. Steve Spagnuolo hopes he gets another head coaching job. Great. And I hope I win the Powerball. Spags. The XFL spent big money on and blocked NFL teams from signing quarterbacks Josh Johnson, Landry Jones, and Connor Cook, and none of them played week 1. What is it about Bob Knight that makes him so beloved in Bloomington? The throwing of the chair? The choking of the kid? Was it the time he grabbed James Wiseman and jerked him into his chair after he had the nerve to turn the ball over twice? Or the time he hit a cop before practice at the Pan Am Games for shoving an LSU fan at the Final Four and stuffing him into a garbage can back at the hotel? It must be the time he admonished Indiana cheerleaders for disrupting a free throw attempt by Steve Alford. Or the time he screamed at and headbutted Sharon Wilkerson. Nah, it had to be the time he screamed at and kicked one of his players on national TV. That player was his son. Lightning, Avalanche, Lord Stanley, Collision Course. Anyone else get nervous over the weekend that Ricky Prohl was still playing football? P. Walker, XFL MVP, Collision Course. C. Cannoli can scoot. Dan.
C. Cannoli?
Yeah. I don't know these guys' names.
Yeah, Cannoli.
C. Cannoli. He can scoot. Dan, you know what's brewing with the Tampa Bay Vipers? A quarterback controversy is brewing, Dano. I didn't want you to guess. You had no idea. You don't watch the XFL. You know what they say, Dan? If you've got 2 quarterbacks,
you don't have it.
Hey, you don't have one. P. Nelson, Dallas Renegades, 32 of 42, 209 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. P. Nelson, the Alex Smith is strong in you. The best quarterback in New York is Matt McGloin. Houston Rockets, live by the 3, die by the 3. Dan, they don't call him Big Shot Bogdanovich for nothing. 3 of the 4 XFL underdogs covered. 2 winning outright. Dan, you know what was happening over the weekend?
Dogs were barking.
The dogs were howling. Stephen Jones talking about Dak Prescott. Negotiations. We're just trying to get to within shouting distance. Stephen, shout louder or move closer. When Michael Irvin walks something back, I imagine him moonwalking in very expensive shoes. The Chiefs said they won't pay Patrick Mahomes for 12 to 14 months. You know what Patrick Mahomes should do until then? Nothing. Chiefs, who the hell do you think you are? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Pay that man his money.
I tell you, this XFL, it's breathed new life into the C. Cannoli. I mean, it really helps out with weekend observation.
Your family and property is important. Protect it by installing Blink cameras in and around your home. Tell them, God.
Yep. Where do you need a Blink security camera? On your porch to help protect deliveries? Perhaps. Helping keep your family safe when you travel? Absolutely. Alerting you when the kids get home from school? Yes, yes, yes. Blink cameras are motion activated. When they detect something, they send an alert and a video clip to your Blink smartphone app, and the Blink XT2 features two-way talk. Systems start at just $79.99. So where do you need Blink cameras? I have them everywhere. Visit blinkprotect.com/Dan. That's blinkprotect.com/Dan.
You're listening to the Sweaty Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
In the history of the show, there is no more famous sound for not listening than Stugartz not listening when Steve Martin had already been mentioned as a prop comic.
Steve Martin was a prop comic.
He was?
Yeah. He came out with an arrow through his head.
Mm-hmm.
And people found that funny.
Steve Martin also. That's what he just said. Oh, he said that.
This is what ends up happening even as a producer is trying to help him.
Deion Waiters went before Damian Lillard. Let that sink in.
Draymond Green in the second round. Chris Middleton in the second round.
Austin Rivers went.
Jay Crowder.
Draymond Green's in that draft. Chris Middleton's in that draft.
I just said those. Glad you were listening.
Oh, okay. Did you really say that?
I sure did.
If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show, plus our Miami-only hour and our Best of podcast on demand in the ESPN app. And subscribe to the Le Batard and Friends podcast network featuring South Beach Sessions, Stupidity, and Mystery Crate. Please rate and subscribe. New episodes are posted every week wherever you get your podcasts.
We do need your help with something. I want you to listen to what Stugartz said there, because if you could rate and subscribe, if you could support what it is that we're doing with that Le Batard and Friends network, we will be able to continue to expand it at no cost to you so that you have plenty of menu items here. But we need your support there in terms of subscribing and rating and reviewing, so that we can keep bringing you this stuff, because Sarah Spain is doing an excellent job with That's What She Said. Mina Kimes and Lenny have developed a real following. Marty Smith is talking to Cam Newton last week, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say, Mike, but he's going to do some show-specific stuff for us in at Daytona, where, you know, I want to get Diana Rossini and see if we can get McAfee as well to sprinkle our stuff through their broadcast, because while I'm not excited about the XFL, while I think it's amateur football, I already get minor league football, and I like it more with the Sis Boom Ba on Saturdays. I don't need another level of amateur football, but everyone here has been yelling at me all day for having that opinion.
Yeah, because these are professionals. They're getting paid money to do pros. Football.
Yeah,
things.
but it is AAA, as I said during the local hour, that the prospects, you'll find them in AA. That's where you find the people with a future, and that doesn't mean that there aren't nice stories here that could get into the league from the XFL. I'm just saying that it feels like minor league football.
Yeah, but are you just doing Alabama, Clemson? Those two teams don't play each other all that often. Well, I mean, they've made a habit of it recently, but a lot of these guys in the XFL were easily the best players on their college football teams. These guys are decent.
Well, this is what
players.
Mike was saying during the local hour. Mike was saying that one of these XFL teams would run right over Alabama.
Oh yeah, carve them up.
I don't agree.
Not so certain.
I don't agree.
You think the Alabama Crimson Tide have a chance against the Houston Roughnecks?
Is Tua healthy?
Sure.
Well, he's not there anymore, but the point taken. What do you guys think of that?
I want to see it. That's what I think of it. Let's make it happen.
That'd be great. The winner of the XFL plays the winner of the college football national championship.
That would be great,
That'd
actually.
be awesome.
That would be great.
That'd
yes,
be great.
it would be.
I was kind of lukewarm on the XFL coming into today, but you've made me like all about the XFL now. I don't know why you're so down on it. You watch like 5 minutes of one game, and you're like, oh, I know everything about the XFL. It's so bad. Yuck. Ugh.
I'm not looking for it to replace the NFL in my life, okay? Obviously, I know it's not going to do that, but if it gives me football year-round that I enjoy, I don't enjoy it as much as the NFL, of course, but I enjoyed the XFL this weekend, legitimately. Like, I really did. Some of the rule changes, the access you get to players, to hear the coaches talk to the players, the referee access. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. It's not the NFL. But the NFL's not going on right now, and so I'll take the XFL.
You know what the XFL is? It's the strawberry and the Neapolitan ice cream. Wow. All right? You have the chocolate, you have the vanilla, and now you have the strawberry of football.
Boom.
So all the football. Is it all good? You know, some flavors better than other, but you put it all in one box, delicious.
Chris, can I get that impersonation you did of me where you were rubbing your goatee? Like, what are you doing there? I just
this football is not up to the level that I expect when I watch football. Are these players? This is not a player I've heard of. That is some sloppy tackling right there.
The tackling was actually pretty sure-handed. You took issue with the tackling?
Why are you making me sound like some sort of Sherlock Holmes? Why did you develop an accent?
You're at home, it's on mute, and you're just holding your chin like,
There were some really good things about this game.
I imagine him sitting on his couch with a monocle far.
What's going on here? A snifter as well. A smoking jacket with patches on the sleeves. Yes, I need a pure form of football.
Far too colorful, these uniforms.
This is not football.
What is a battle hawk?
That's not
you
even
guys
an
with
animal.
a fencing glove right now.
Give me more of the Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
Officer in a school zone.
Right.
And I'm there with the police officers, and the police officers outside my window, and a guy drives by in the opposite lane here, okay?
Yep.
The guy's driving by, and he goes, "Appreciate you, man." And he's hanging out of the car. And so I'm getting the ticket, and I'm waving at him. I'm like, "Thank you, thank you." And then he yells back at me, "I was talking to the police officer."
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan LeBerfeld Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The deal between the Angels and Dodgers that would have sent Jock Peterson to the Angels is now off the table. Ricky Stenhouse had the fastest lap yesterday, earning the pole for the Daytona 500. And finally, all four members of Metallica divorced their wives during the recording of the Black Album due to its troubled production.
That documentary on Metallica is so good. So one of the best music documentaries I've ever seen, like letting you right up in there where all their vulnerabilities were. It was a fascinating look at creativity.
Right now at Wendy's, pick two faves, pay $5. Choose from 10-piece spicy or crispy nugs, a Dave single, or a spicy chicken sandwich. Wendy's 2 for $5. Win-win. We got you. Price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's. Spicy nuggets available for a limited time only. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Time now for the funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Get a free battery test and free installation with any automotive battery purchase only at Advance Auto Parts. Think ahead. Think Advance.
Chris Cody, is yours funny? I bet yours isn't funny. I bet you don't know what funny is.
The St. Louis Battlehawks. What the hell are these things called? I thought it was Battle Next. The St. Louis Battlehawks won their first XFL game, and they celebrated
You know
by.
what? Don't even finish. Just go to the penalty box.
Wow.
Just go.
Wow.
Sit down.
Wow.
Don't even. Finish.
Hot calling the kettle.
Just.
Whoa.
Really? You're gonna talk back to me after that? You were thrown that at the top of the segment to just get one half a sentence out right, and look at what you did. Billy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Dan, XFL tickets in Washington were going for higher prices than NFL tickets in Washington. We're at the end of the NFL season.
That is funny. Roy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Ja Rule tweeted out, quote, "Enjoyed the XFL today. Great start."
Okay. Just Ja Rule was tweeting about successful ventures.
Yep.
You've got 3.3 million viewers. Darren Ravel said 2.9 million is what the AAF started with. So 400, despite a marketing push by ESPN and Fox. Stugartz.
Yep.
Like a marketing push that was substantive, where you've got everyone on both networks out here selling on behalf of this minor league product. And
professional product.
Exactly. I watched pro football over the weekend, Dan. Guys were being paid.
Yeah.
For the,
And I watched, pretty decent football.
Yep.
Quarterbacks making throws.
Mm-hmm.
Offense is being exciting, even though all the games went under.
Yeah.
So it makes me cynical to point out that, hey, it wasn't the greatest of football, and I'm kind of suspicious of all of these voices that keep telling me how wonderful it is who happen to work at ESPN and Fox, where we're sort of obligated to prop up our partners.
My funniest thing is also from the XFL.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Outside of seeing Jerry Glanville again, which was, I had a Jerry Glanville-sized hole in my heart, and it got filled over the weekend. But Mark Trestman is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Vipers. I don't know if you saw this team.
Was he funnier than Hal Mummy?
Dude, Mark Trestman gave like one of the worst halftime speeches of all time. There was one team, the Tampa Bay Vipers, as you know, Dan, according to our friends at Caesars, this is one of the title favorites. Yeah. They came in woefully underprepared for the XFL season. Quarterback controversy already? I don't know. But Kevin Gilbride's New York Guardians were taking it to him. Either way, the offense is stalling inside the red zone as it was doing the entire time. Rinse repeat. Quentin Flowers takes you down the field. You take him out for Aaron Murray. Aaron Murray bleeps up. Either way. So, it's 17-0. Desperate for points, Mark Trestman settles for a 23-yard field goal to make it, I guess, a two-score game. But here's the thing in the XFL. 17-0 is a two-score game. You buffoon. Why would you kick a field goal at that point in the game? Why? Makes no sense. Mark Trestman already on the hot seat.
Wow.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Lebetard Show. Will the name Kevin Gilbride make you laugh throughout eternities? I don't know what's happening here. Roy, I don't know. Every time I got to figure out a way to put this in a bottle as an antidepressant. Every time I say the name Kevin Gilbride, what sweeps over us is joy. It's happiness.
Have you seen him speak to his team? This was not the game that you watched, I take it. This is the Kevin Gilbride you thought you knew. Totally different man.
Yep.
He's done a lot of work on himself.
Whoa.
He was uplifting in the locker room saying, boys, I wish I could win this game for you. I really do. You deserve it. You're going to have to go out there and win it yourselves. I'm like, wow, the Guardians. Who expected this?
Not as funny anymore.
Stugartz, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
I also won XFL, Dan.
Oh, for the love of God.
Jim Zorn.
That's a great
it?
submission.
That's it.
Great
Excellent.
submission.
Hey, actually, you know what? You know what? You win. I mean, I'm all in now that you just say Jim Zorn. Speaking of just names that make you happy.
I mean,
Mike, can you empty the Jim Zorn file, please? We have
Zorny.
to empty
I got to
it.
see if I can recoup these files because remember we emptied it last time.
We already emptied the Jim
We
Zorn
did
file?
empty the Jim
No,
Zorn
we
file.
did not.
Yes, yes,
No.
we did.
What?
Yes. Don't you remember the Tessie exchange? It's okay. I have everything.
I
on the
do
backup.
remember that Jim Zorn got testy and then at the end pivoted to nice, just as he always was, a little too nice, which is why the Washington XFL team is selling tickets for more expensive a cost than the Washington racial slurs.
Okay, well then you keep looking, you keep rolling your eyes, and I'm getting ticked off, and I think I'm answering your question. Are you okay? Okay.
Zorny.
Is that it? That's all that's in the Zorn file?
Yeah, we don't have to delete it because he's back in sports.
No, but I
guess
feel like the
we
big
recovered.
voice had something that there's something about a name that starts with a Z. There's something funny about his name. It's not just his personality.
Jim Zorn.
See? Was I lying? I wasn't lying, was I? I go with funniest thing from the sports weekend that I have no idea whether Bobby Knight was trying to tear the head off of a giggling Dick Vitale as Dick Vitale continued to giggle afterward because Dick Vitale strikes me as having a little Stugartz in him, not knowing when someone is serious or not and always thinking he's a little chummier with him than he actually is. Was that not confusing to you guys? Was it not confusing to you guys to see Bob Knight look like he got really aggressive with Dick Vitale, and Dick Vitale keeps laughing and joshing, and Bob Knight has just this look of pink rage on his face.
I found another Jim Zorn file from the Jim Zorn
No way.
folder. It's called Sonny Jurgensen and Jim Zorn feud over HB Pass.
What?
Redskins
Okay,
Radio
well,
Network.
now wait a
Oh, my
minute.
God.
Wait a minute. Do you want to go to it now?
I think I remember this when I was
Wait a
getting
minute.
sound
No,
back
I
in my
think this is
intern
no.
days.
This is absolutely right. This is some old school football. You want to be an old show? Talk about the argument that Sonny Jurgensen had with Jim Zorn 10 years ago. Sonny Jurgensen, a quarterback from the 60s. Jim Zorn, a quarterback from the 80s, from the 90s.
70s, 80s, I think.
No, not 70s. Was
I
he
think
70s?
so.
No.
I think so.
Jim Zorn to Steve Largent had to be 80, mid 80s to mid 90s.
No way 90s. No way 90s.
Just all 80s?
80s.
Just
Yeah.
all 80s.
Yeah. 87.
87.
All right, please play for me the sound. They're arguing about a halfback pass. This is what sports radio was meant to be right here. Sonny Jurgensen and Jim Zorn arguing about something useless.
Third down, I'm the quarterback, or you are the quarterback, and you call the halfback throwing the ball for me. I'm calling timeout or calling an audible. I'm not letting the halfback throw it. That's what you pay me for.
Well, then I would have to take you out of the game. As soon as you called timeout, I'd say, what's wrong with my play? Because
It didn't work.
No, but I called it to work. All right, we called it to work. It didn't work. There was a lot of plays out that didn't work, and I'd take you out of the game. Sorry, Sonny.
That's the sound of the day. It's brought to you by My Computer Career Training for a Better Life.
Sorry, Sonny. That seems like something Sonny Jurgensen would say to somebody because he's 100 years old.
Sorry, Sonny.
Zorn.
Pay that man his money.
So Zorn was 75 to 87. So the connection with Largent that you're talking about was 76 to 84. They were great.
When was Sonny Jurgensen? Was he 50s?
Hold on.
Didn't work. Didn't work.
You're going to tickle me with that the rest of the way.
Didn't work.
57 to 63 with the Eagles.
Didn't work.
Oh my God, what's the radio show we're doing right now?
Didn't work.
64 to 74 with the Redskins. What a run.
Didn't work.
This is the oldest segment we've ever done. And I remind you that yesterday at Trader Joe's, I went in front of the cashier. I gave the cashier cash, and he looked at me legitimately confused and said, I forgot we took cash.
Didn't work.
I'm actually playing that sound off a reel.
Sonny Jurgensen, I mean, he was ahead of his time, this guy. He threw a 99-yard touchdown. The numbers are staggering. He had 255 career TDs.
Wait a minute. Mike Ryan just flipped over his shoulder wanting to throw it on the pole.
Sonny Jurgensen was ahead of his time, this guy. Yes or no?
What is the show we're doing? That's it. No, that's it. That's where it ends right there. It's...
Sonny Jurgensen was ahead of his time, this guy.
Didn't work.
I had 61. He threw for 32 touchdowns.
Didn't work.
Oh, my God.
Didn't work.
We are so old. Billy has no idea. I might as well be speaking Mandarin right now. Billy has no idea who any of these people are.
Didn't work. Didn't work.
Raycon, you want earbuds that provide quality sound without paying an absurd price? Tell them, Gotts.
Yep, you already know Raycon earbuds started about half the price of other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and they sound just as amazing. How do I know? They sent me a pair. They're fantastic. I love them. They sent me their latest model, the E25s, their best ones yet. And yes, they sound better than the ones I had previously before they sent me these. And they're half the price. Oh, what was I thinking? E25s offer you 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design for a comfortable noise-isolating fit. Raycon earbuds are stylish and discreet with no dangling wires or stems. Raycon was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Snoop Dogg and J.R. Smith are obsessed with Raycon. So am I. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Dan. That's buyraycon.com/Dan.
Give me more of the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Goals as the Washington Capitals play the Islanders tonight. Ovi could be on track to break Wayne Gretzky's record as the greatest scorer in the history of hockey. That's ESPN's Daily with Mina Kimes, presented by ADT. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily, available wherever you enjoy your podcast. Garlic and Wingo will be live this Friday from Chicago for the NBA All-Star Game, brought to you by Marathon. No matter where your travels take you, Marathon can improve your engine performance with quality top-tier gasoline. Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
At Le Batard Show, if you want to write the show, criticize us, rip us, this guy takes some time and writes, I thought you and your stewed guts got canceled. If not, you need to be, Le Bastard.
You don't get the show.
This guy's still out there. We've been at this. Le Bastard's been out this for 20 years with his stewed guts.
Still here.
And we're still here. Didn't Shaq say like 2 years ago that our show sucks and it's going to fail, and now it's the biggest in the universe?
Still here.
Still here playing Sonny Jurgensen and Jim Zorn.
This is how it ends, though, right? Like this is how
Sonny.
people get fat with fame and success. And
Didn't work.
and this is right here. It will mark the end right here when people look back at our history, our legacy in sports radio. When Stugartz is inducted into whatever Hall of Fame he wants to get into for this crappy thing we do.
Didn't work.
This is going to be the spot. The day they started talking about Sonny Jurgensen.
Didn't work.
We're getting close, by the way, to being Hall of Famers. I think we're like a year away where people can start nominating us to the Radio Hall of Fame. This is exciting.
You're gross.
Are you going to last another year with me?
At Le Batard Show is how you vote on the polls on Twitter. Billy, what, Billy? Why skeptical Billy?
I don't think you're going to get that year.
We need this year, man. Listen, I'll do anything I have to do to get one more year out of you because we go to the Radio Hall of Fame. I think if we get another year.
Just be quiet in the breaks, if I can give you any advice to make it that year.
Well, but this, right? We just talked about this the other day when he was at Super Bowl Radio Row. It was so peaceful in here.
I know.
My face didn't feel like charcoal charred from just his breath on hot takes, his cigarette breath.
Dan, I'm begging you. Take one for the team, man.
Another one?
Yes, another one.
How many do I have to take for the team? Like, it felt so good in here to just...
It felt good over there as well.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's where we are. He wants to get to 20 years of marriage, wants to stay together for the kids, and I want to have a torrid affair with somebody.
For the kids, just for the Hall of Fame.
At Le Batard Show on Twitter, what do we have there on the polls, Stugartz?
Who is Pat Connaughton? Am I saying that right?
He's in the dunk competition. He went to Notre Dame.
That's a terrible job. I thought it would have been a good idea if the greats of the game got together. Kobe won the dunk contest, and they played for a whole bunch of money for Kobe's charity. The winner donates the money to the Mamba Foundation. I thought that would have been a good idea. Like LeBron and all the guys did the dunk contest just 1 year.
But why'd you get a hot take in the middle of the updating of the poll?
Because I just realized I'm stuck with Pat Connaughton. I mean...
Do people know who he is?
Do you?
Well, but that's how it started, Stugartz.
61% said no. They do not. Does Billie Eilish know who Eminem is? What? They do not.
What is that? What are you doing? What just happened there?
What?
Yeah. No, I don't understand. I don't. Oh.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Does Billie Eilish know who Eminem is? She does not. What? Yeah! Yeah! What? 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 Yeah! Yeah! What?
Didn't work.
Yeah! What?
Didn't work. Didn't work.
We will talk to you mañana. This was the Dan LeBerfeld Show on ESPN Radio.
Didn't work.